And we are live. Welcome everybody to the A&E show. One of the hosts, Evan, here with.
Angelo. Oh, you could either say my name or
I was waiting for you. I was waiting for you to do it.
it's like,
um,
Opa, what's up?
yeah,
What's up,
A&E
friend?
show, Angelo and Evan show. No, it's still a work in progress. We're thinking about changing the name. We've come up with a few, but we don't
Gotcha.
want to spoil too much about it, and we'll let you know once we've come up with a final decision.
Yeah.
Um, and we hope you like it.
hmm
So last session we talked about foot golf. Angelo went into depth about the history of it and what he's doing now with his two clubs, and then we decided we've been doing soccer, foot golf, sports for the most part, and now we're going to move into more of the arts. And today we're actually recording two sessions. The first one right now for this session is going to be about language. And uh, the second one is going to be about music. Um, so let's start off with the language segment. So I was thinking we would um, talk about what languages we can actually speak, or what languages we've studied in the past, even if we don't speak them now. And for me, I'm obviously native English as an American, and I grew up. My mother's Ecuadorian, so I grew up speaking Spanish, um, and I still speak it today. And I've studied Japanese for many, many years, like more than a decade, really. So I speak Japanese pretty fluently. I've studied Chinese for 1 year in high school, so it's very brief, and I don't remember any of it. And I studied Korean in university as well for one semester. But again, that also I don't really remember very well. So
What's the
those are.
what like if you still remember like Chinese and Korean, like
I
obviously
remember
Japanese,
pieces.
but like no, like well, the question I'm trying to go ask is just basically like what are the major differences between those three?
Oh, the major differences? Okay.
Yeah.
So Korean itself is like completely separate from the language, the alphabets that are used in Chinese and Japanese. Chinese, you have those characters, right? So they're like images that represent ideas. The character for like the sun is, if you go way, way back, centuries and centuries, in maybe like, I don't know, five to nine BC. Um, no, sorry, AD. Or for those of you who don't want to use AD, Anno Domini, it would be uh, CE, Common Era. The Chinese had all those characters representing uh, like the ideas of a concept. So you'd have a character for tree, or a character for a bunch of trees, which would be a grove, or a character for more trees. So like they would just, you have the character repeatedly, and that would be the new character, and that would be like, hey, this is a forest, because there's many of like this tree character, right? And so there are a bunch of different ways that those characters started to represent ideas, and then between 5 to 9 CE, the Japanese had a lot of influence from Chinese culture and Chinese language. So the Japanese borrowed a lot of the Chinese characters that were used during that time, and also the words, like how they were pronounced. Um, so uh, they were adapted into the Japanese language, and then uh, ironically enough, later on, Chinese actually kind of split off from where it was at that time period, right? So a lot of the Chinese that's borrowed from, sorry, yeah, a lot of the Chinese that's been borrowed by the Japanese is like maybe 30% of the Japanese characters, like the kanji
Okay.
characters, and then, um, but they were borrowed once, and then the Japanese ran with that, like they ran with that set of characters, and then the Chinese started branching off and changing characters and changing the way that was spoken, and the actual pronunciation that was used at the time, that was borrowed at the time by the Japanese, was more related to Cantonese than it is Mandarin. And since Mandarin is the most standard Chinese spoken today, they're completely separate and they don't sound alike very much at all. Um, so I guess those are like the huge differences between Chinese and Japanese. what's interesting is that if you are a Chinese learner or a Japanese learner and you read newspapers in the other language, you can get like bits and pieces of it, but you won't understand the grammar. Um, and there are some characters that are currently used in Japanese that are no longer used in Chinese, and vice versa, right? I mean, there are going to be characters in Chinese that aren't
Of
used in
course.
Japanese. So it's a lot easier for people who are native language users of, one first and then the other to learn it, actually. Um, and so I chose quite a very difficult language to learn as an English, starting as an English native speaker. So yeah, that would do. And then Korean itself is harder. Like I don't really know much of the like detailed history behind it,
Hmm.
but
Well, you said you only took a
I would say
semester
that
of it.
yeah. I only took a semester of it, and I unfortunately don't remember a lot. I think there were some classes that we had that were focused on like the history and the genesis of
Gotcha.
Korean itself, right? I think for the most part they spoke. I don't want to say this because I'm not sure it's true, but I think they didn't have a defined alphabet, and then one of the leaders there, like what ancient kings, was like, "Hey, we need like a system of writing and being able to
Hmm.
commonly speak to each other." So he came up with Hangul, which is what is currently or the most advanced version being used today, uh, Korean.
Oh,
Um,
oh, that's interesting.
yeah,
Um,
but I like going from Chinese, Japanese, Korean. How are they different? Um, Korean and Japanese are SOV languages. So generally their grammar goes in the order of subject, object, verb, right? So it's like it's let's say watashi wa niku o tabemasu, right? That would be uh, I meat eat, right? Because subject is I, the object is
mhm.
the meat, and the verb comes at the end, right? Eat. And languages like English, Chinese. In fact, Chinese is an SVO language, so it means subject, verb, object.
Hmm.
Like I eat meat would be I subject, verb, eat, object, meat. So I mean, I did some research on this, and it's Chinese, English, French, Italian, Polish, Portuguese, Spanish. Like a lot of popular languages
Hmm.
are
Oh, it's
generally in the order.
mostly like the Romance language, and then as well as some of the like East Asian accent
Yeah,
languages.
actually, because you have Malay and Vietnamese and Thai in there. So, and there's
Hmm.
much more. I actually like just didn't write because I mean there were just so many. I didn't feel like I
Yeah,
needed
but that also would
to
be
write
like
down. But like
just basically just
Hebrew, Turkish, Romanian, Russian, even. But there's some exceptions to each of
mhm.
these languages. Swahili is also SVO.
Hmm.
Yeah.
What's it called? No, yeah, that's because like you're trilingual, and like I'm bilingual. Like I speak English, like English American, like that, and then Italian. Like my both of my families from Italy, and in my household, like Italian is the first language to be used, um, and that's very, like you said earlier, like the SVO language. Like I am eating whatever I am eating, or I am going to wherever I'm going to. Like I am like sto andando a bagno, or like I'm going to the bathroom,
Right. Yeah.
or
Same
mi
order.
vado, like mi vado a letto, and a lot of that, and very like it's very not proper, but it's very like it's this, and then this. No ifs, ands, and buts.
Right.
So, but like language, I like how language gets like a little bit more difficult as you progress into the language, or writing it or reading it, as trying to be as
Absolutely.
fluent as possible.
But not even just language. Although even though we are focused on language today, like
But
everything is like the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know. Right. And
yeah,
what's cool about language is it's always evolving. Right. I mean, there's so much slang that comes out of English. There's slang that comes out of even Japanese. Like, for example, in Japanese, they love to shorten words because, I mean, it's convenient and it's easy, to communicate in shorter words if uh, both parties understand it, right? So
yeah.
they use the word shukatsu, which is a shortening. There's four characters. So one character is Shu, Shoku, Katsu, Do. So those syllables. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
True. Got so
Basically
yeah.
syllables. Yeah. Shu, Shoku, Katsu, Do. Right. If they shorten it and take Shu and Katsu, they turn it into Shu Katsu. When you see those two characters together for Shu and Katsu, you understand that it represents Shu, Shoku, Katsu, Do. Right.
But
And
you
then
would pronounce it as shukatsu.
exactly. Yeah. You would say Shu Katsu. Even though the original words themselves have to be Shushoku and Katsudo. Right.
Gotcha.
And that's what's cool about Chinese characters, I think, is that like the learning curve is really difficult, but then once you get to that higher level, like you notice that there's a recurring pattern in certain styles, or like if you see, because each character is comprised of actually even smaller, like strokes characters. So if you see like one character inside another character, you can think, oh, you can understand that meaning and then another meaning within it, and then you can guess what the meaning is. And sometimes you'll actually be right because of all the knowledge that you've accumulated about those characters. Which is really
language
cool.
is.
Then you don't even need to know how to pronounce it. You understand what it means without. It's like knowing what the number 7 represents, right? Without knowing how to pronounce it in any language.
But also, it's like it's people who try to learn the language. It's not something like you could just like, okay, you talk about it or you try to learn it one day, you drop it, and then 10, 20 years later, you understand it perfectly fine. You're going to be rusty. It's not something that you. But it's like riding a bicycle though. Like after you ride a bicycle, it's not like you're gonna forget.
Yeah, I think if you see the same character maybe 20 times and not like hey, look at it, look away, look at it, look away.
Yeah.
Like, I'm talking about like over a period of like days, right? Then you'll remember it, because people are pretty good at remembering things when they're exposed to it in intervals rather than like in short bursts. So, and that's actually like how I used to study kanji, and probably how I'm going to once I pick back up on it is I have an app that shows me kanji with like drill cards, right? And I can answer like, hey, I didn't understand it, or nah, it took me a little second, but I got it, or yeah, I totally understood it, and just like go. And based on those 3 answers, the app can decide how frequently to show me that kanji again, right? To test me on it, which is really nice, because then if I say like, oh, I don't know it, it shows me it after like 3 other kanji. And if I say like, oh, I kind of know it, it shows me it after like 10 or 15, right? Just to like test if I'm remembering it, right?
Yeah.
And then eventually you just kind of memorize it. So.
So then you have, so there's Japanese and like, so because in each age, but is it still similar with the SOV or there's something else with that?
Right. So like I was saying before, SOV, Japanese and Korean are SOV languages, but Chinese is an SVO language, which makes it different from those two. With what was I going to say? I completely spaced.
Right now it's like Jeopardy.
Jeopardy. That's okay. I mean, as long as we just keep talking, everything's gonna be fine. Oh, right. So I was thinking about doing at the beginning of the podcast that we would introduce ourselves in each language. But that's fine. I mean, we ad-libbed up to this point, so why not continue? We don't need to do that. But I thought it was interesting to find that Italian, Spanish, and Portuguese, French, they are all SVO languages. And so like I'm looking, I have some examples here of Italian and Spanish. Angelo, if you could say the Italian part.
Oh yeah, that's fine. Well, we just showing like the parts. It's like because like if she's like io lo mangio, or sto mangiando, it means like I am eating it. But you put that la in the end, and then in the beginning, kind of like sto mangiando means like I am eating. or yeah,
Wait,
it.
so you can move the la? Like you can say
So
sto
you could,
mangiando.
yeah, so you could move the lot before or after,
Okay.
because then you are, so if it's like there, like you just like whatever you pointed at it, or it's like people can see it, like oh I'm eating that or I'm eating this, and people understand that you are talking in the vicinity. It's not like you're talking like whatever, and then that subject is still there. But I know in Italian when it's more informal, you can group the verb like sto, not sto, but mangiando.
Hmm.
You could get in the sense of changing the mangiando and la and make it into like sto mangiando. That means like you're
Oh,
eating it. It means the same thing, but you're mushing it together, kind of created like like the sentence, but you're kind of like shortening like the whole thing with the shokatsu.
okay.
So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so it's but it's
I see
mostly
like
like
similarity there.
so but they do that in the sense of like informal. They will never do it, not as much informal wise.
Okay. So like if you're like a young person and you're talking with your friends, people will say it like that, or like
Like
what
when
sort
I'm
of
home,
situation?
yeah, like with your friends, or if I'm home, my mom be like, "Hey, are you eating like are you eating whatever I made?" I'll be like, "Yeah, I am eating," and I'll group them together. So like so manjanda, and it means like
Sto
yeah, I am
mangiando.
eating it,
Right.
and you're fine, and that's saying like yeah, I am eating. Let's just say it's feminine, whatever. Like I'm eating the apple, like la mela, like yeah, so manjanda, and then that means like I'm eating
Uh-huh.
that.
You see, that's another interesting thing too, because like some languages turn nouns into like give nouns genders, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like a chair
Well, yeah,
or a
chair, like
cake.
it's either feminine or masculine, but like
Yeah.
mostly, and I know in Italian, it's more like boy or girl. So it's like me, like mi chiamo Angelo, like yeah, but then like I know if you want to be really formal, people will be like mi chiama Angela if I was a girl because of that. But like even chiama means it's he, she, like name. It's like you're saying someone else's name in a third person. So it gets
Okay.
really confusing in that sense.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's kind of similar in Spanish, right? Because
Yeah.
we say yo me llamo Evan, right? I would say
Mm,
that. But tú llamas, right? Or él
yeah.
llama, right? It would be he is that, right? So it becomes third
Mm.
person. Yeah. That's okay.
So that's why we have the feminines for the third person.
Right. Right.
So and or be really formal with people when you want to be really formal.
Right. Right.
Um,
Right.
but but what was about the Spanish? Like how is it similar with Italian? Besides being a romance language, like because they
Right. Yeah. 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 Well, I mean, they have similar origins, right, in Latin.
mm, yeah.
But uh, right. If I say estoy comiéndolo, right, that's exactly pretty much what you said, sto mangiando, right?
Mm,
Because I'm putting the lo at
later
the end,
on.
which is
Mm,
yeah, similarity to la. Um, and I don't know with Spanish. I feel like I need to practice it a lot more. I've been losing it simply from living in Japan and nobody really speaks it out here.
yeah. And when you ever find someone that speaks Spanish, that you get that instant connection. It's like, oh my god, you actually speak Spanish as well. Oh yeah, blah blah blah, blah. And then you just keep on talking, and just like
Yeah.
it opens
Yeah.
up new doors.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
the conversation just lasts. It's like, okay, at least I have someone that like I can be normal with, or cause I know like a lot of people like they'll go to a different country and they like oh like when I go to Italy, like sometimes like I don't think in Italian, I'll think in English, and sometimes like I'll catch myself like, oh wait, I'm in Italy. Should we now? I gotta start speaking Italian. I start speaking Italian. Um, but like when you
It's
just find
interesting,
someone
like
that,
different parts of your brain lights up, you know.
yeah, and then when you find someone that speaks English, it's like, oh my god, finally! I don't have to like actually like be like not even heightened, but on our learn just like okay, I gotta start talking like this.
All right, yeah.
Because if
And
not, no one's gonna understand.
yeah, as difficult as learning foreign languages is, right? not only is it interesting, but it makes me sad when I hear people in America or like regular people in America saying like, "Oh, you're trying too hard," or like, like why don't you speak English? Like everybody in the world should speak English. Everybody speaks English.
Well,
I just don't understand.
so there's two ways you could look at that, right? One, if everyone speaks English, everyone can understand each other. No problems.
Yeah,
Less
it would be
problems
convenient.
happen.
Yeah,
Be really convenient. But then also, but language is part of the culture.
yeah.
It's part of life. That it's why not just learn it? You don't even have to learn it like a lot. Just learn just the basics of whatever you are going to. Like let's just say you are going to Italy and you don't know it's like anything about Italian. Just learn and just like, hey, I just need directions to this place. Okay, it's left. Go down the block, make a right, and understanding that would just make your life easier when you're trying to travel to places. Oh,
Yeah, as
what's a
long
good
as you know what to
restaurant?
ask.
Like, yeah, or just learn the stuff that you think you're gonna ask people,
Hmm.
or you have someone who could translate for you.
Yeah, it's always nice. Don't always have that.
But just think like that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Um. So I just want to go back on that part that you said, stomanjanda, right? Because I didn't know actually that you could move the la
Mm.
to the end. But also in Japanese, the example I have here is the same thing. Um, it says watashi ga hako o akemasu. So watashi is I. Ga kind of means like am the one who. And then hako means box, and then o is like it's like a particle that marks like uh, the object with the verb. And akemasu means to open, right? So I open the box, or I am the one who opens the box. And just like you said earlier in Italian, in Japanese, you can move stuff around and put um, the box in front, and then say like, hako o watashi ga akemasu, right? So box I open,
Mm.
which would be um, object subject verb, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, and there are object subject verb languages, but for the most part, like 90 something percent are either SVO or SOV. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And it maybe that speaks to something in biology or physiologically that humans tend to lean towards that sort of language structure. Um,
Well, like I took
so
Japanese in high school for 1 year, and I'm saying like, and like a year and a half. 'Cause I think I just like didn't want to do it anymore because I just felt like I was never gonna use it.
right,
But like, and it was always nice, like knowing like I could never like I wasn't like great in it, obviously, because I didn't pursue it or continue it. But I
right,
felt
yeah. I
like
mean, it takes practice.
it takes a lot of practice, but also like I feel like me not like I could say it if I have like the not English, but like kind of like having like the Romanized
Uh huh.
words of
Yeah.
it, like the, actually write out like not just the kanji or the characters on it. But
Hmm.
like I feel like having it in like Italian like background, like I can at least say like wa ta like ta chi and say it like not a formal Japanese guy or a Japanese girl, but like at least get the characters and the pronunciation somewhat
Hmm.
correct, not having a really bad accent.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's actually I saw a YouTube video that's kind of I mean it's kind of making fun of foreigners speaking Japanese, but uh, I mean it is still funny. Um,
Yeah.
but he does like a bunch of sentences in Japanese as like different nations, right? So he does one where he's like, I don't know, from France, or he does one where he's from Europe. Sorry, like the UK, or he does one uh, from America, and like just a bunch of different ones. And so it's kind of funny to hear him say it like that, like or as if he's Vietnamese or Thai or something like that. Um, but I've noticed, at least for me, like when I hear a recording of myself speaking Japanese, it doesn't sound as good as I think it sounds when I'm talking to somebody else in Japanese. And a lot of people tell me that I don't have much of an accent, or that I don't have an accent at all,
Mm-hmm.
which is interesting to me. And I know that my Mexican friend, he, obviously also grew up speaking Spanish, so um, we have the same sort of like pronunciation background, and his Japanese is really good too. Like there's no like pronunciation issues there.
Yeah.
And I think that for people who speak Spanish, French, or Italian, that might actually be the case for some reason.
Mm. I
And
think
I'd
it's like,
actually like to look into that more. But yeah, I know what you mean.
um, but yeah, that's why I just felt like a lot of those like different languages you could probably get by just because on there's certain language like how they pronunciate or how they like the words usage in the sense is just like there's a lot about vowels in Italian language and in Japanese it seems like they have a lot of vowels, so that's probably why that you can like Italian can make out the words if it's not in
Well,
the characters.
the vowels, it's just I, E, U, A, O, right? So
Well,
like
yeah, but like you
A,
could, but it's also used a lot more than like like it like just said like when you write out like so in song right there's only one vowel. Well, if you say canzone is in Italian you break up it's you have the A, you have the O, and you got the I, and it's
yeah,
Cazoni, and
right,
that's
yeah, yeah.
each. And or sorry if you want to just basically each syllable has a vowel.
Mm, okay. Oh, Japanese is the same way. Well, all
Yeah,
consonants except for N, right? Because if
yeah.
you end with like ramen, right?
Mm.
All of them pretty much have a vowel tacked on to the consonant sound.
So probably
Right?
yeah,
Like see
that's
wa ta shi, right? Is
yeah.
A I, and then yeah, ga hako akemasu. Like all of these pretty much have a vowel attached.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And that's probably why that's why like, a lot of the Romance language could actually like not like talk like fluently, but actually like talk with very minimal accent as possible, or not even accent. I'm using the word wrong, but like at least try to get it as much as they can,
Yeah.
easier than American or English speaking people, or languages that doesn't use as much of like vowels into it. Um, but, but like I know like going like language is just like I'll go home and watching TV and I watch soccer in Italian, understanding it, and I really do enjoy just watching
Mhm.
Italian soccer in Italian because it's just the names. I don't have any American speaking broadcasters or like the commentators butchering the last name,
Right.
and
Yeah.
that just like it's just like
It's gotta sound
hearing
fun.
basically having like a knife and you're just like just slicing the
Oh,
plate,
so
the
can you give an
empty
example?
plate.
Can you give an example,
Uh,
please? I want to hear it.
I I can't even think of on top of my head right now. Oh my god, just so bad. Um, like I'm just gonna like really okay. Quick was that like um, there's John Luigi Donnarumma. So like that's a long name,
Hmm.
but like the it's just like they'll actually pronounce like John Luigi Donnarumma. I was like, no, stop it, please.
Donnarumma.
It's like, what the fuck is the Duna? And like, there's some people
Uh,
who actually work on it. It's like, okay, good. At least you trying. I don't
right.
mind if you're trying to pronounce it, then you're good. But don't
Right.
butcher it and not give it a hoot.
Yeah,
Um,
that's pretty funny though. Okay. Yeah, I mean that happens in every language. And look, I don't think like we should make fun of people if their pronunciation is off. But like if they're not trying to improve it, then I'm a little bit upset. I'm like, come on. Like,
okay,
you
then
understand that it's wrong.
you're
You're
just
not.
too nice.
Well, I applaud people for trying to learn languages, right?
Yes.
So like
Well.
I saw recently, and I didn't know this, that Ariana Grande had been learning Japanese. Um, yeah, first I had no idea, but she was learning it, and she spoke like in Japanese a lot on in social media, like Instagram or Twitter, and some people started making fun of her or saying like she was trying too hard or like she didn't really like it. It was just like a publicity thing or whatever. And it's like, look, man, people are gonna do whatever they want to do if they're
Yeah,
interested. Like support them. Like what's
yeah.
wrong with you?
Even though if she's trying too hard, she's trying. That's what
Right.
matters the most.
Yeah.
But also, like, I want to see also Ryan Reynolds. See if he's okay. He's been going to Tokyo because Detective Pikachu.
Yeah, that's right.
He he has been doing a lot of like stuff going over there because I think they're filming in Tokyo or whatever in Japan.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Some scenes might have been.
um, and he was just doing a lot of stuff over there. But I want to see if he was actually like learning it just because he's there. Why not?
Right.
You know what I
Well,
mean?
he might, like you said, he might have been learning just those like simple basic phrases. Right.
But still,
That's
simple
not.
basic plays is still fine. At least he's learning it. He could be
Yeah.
like, I don't speak Japanese, so I can't understand you. What? And then try to get whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at least he's trying. It's like, oh, okay. At least he can say
Yeah.
hi
There
or
are people.
whatever.
Yeah, there are people who speak English and can give directions. So.
Yeah, exactly. Um, but no, it's I don't know. Language is just always I don't. Not even like just like it's just a fantastic thing because just like if you, I feel like when people have learned a different language to not like to the fullest, you cannot learn everything in a like in one certain language, but you could be as much as a native speaker and just like understanding without like concern or whatever. They could be rusty, but it's just fantastic. It's just I feel like he's open you up. You'd be like more open minded to trying new things or learning new things
Yeah.
or just even understanding in two different ways because you could also look at two different ways how people can see it and like just a simple example you have the SVO and then the SOV like that's two different ways and that's how they communicate it's all about communication
Right.
you just
Yeah. Yeah.
change it and just basically changing one word around and or not adding that word or combining two words into one.
Yeah. Yeah. Language itself is, it's a vehicle for communication. If you can get what you are thinking across to another human being, then you've achieved your goal, right? And that's the
Yeah.
goal of language. So, um, there's that, and culture is also implicated in language. And if you understand a language, you generally get a taste of the culture, and if you understand culture, you can kind of understand how a language is formulated as well. Especially in something like Japanese, where like sometimes somebody will say in a certain situation as a joke, like, "Oh, are you such and such like famous person?" And in Japan, like, uh, usually people who are famous for like one thing or like an act or like something that they did or something they consistently do. If they're a comedian, if they're an actress, or whatever they are.
Mm.
And so, if you understand Japanese pop culture and you understand contemporary famous people or people who have been famous in the past, then you can have a conversation almost like entirely like that. It's like,
Mm.
oh, you just behaved like such and such person or something like that.
Like comparing one person to another.
Yeah, yeah,
You just did this. Why? And also, like language can be like not like yeah, language can be like manipulated in the sense you can take it into your advantage, or kind of like people who are too good, not too good, but like good enough that they could pursue or convince someone to buy a product, like those
right.
salespeople, or you're going to a bar and you're talking to a girl, you gotta make yourself like kind of like interested into
Right.
the sense of like, hey, I'm not just like a complete douche. I am actually a genuinely nice guy, or just, I'm interested in who you are and want to know more.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. Well, with the sales part, I definitely want to be better at that. Like, I love learning new ways to say things, right? New ways to convey my ideas to other
yeah.
people. Because I like hearing other people talk, actually, because I think people are very, very interesting, and I like understanding people's life stories, like who they are, what they've experienced, and like what brought them to the point where they are now.
Hmm.
So I really enjoy making new friends because of that. And what's interesting is that I've heard when two people know two separate languages, they'll start to converse in both of those languages at the same time. So like sometimes if I'll speak with Maya, I'll say a sentence in English and then a few words in there are like sprinkled in of Japanese, or the opposite, right? Because it's actually that much easier to get the point across. It makes more sense to say the word in Japanese in this situation, or it makes more sense to say the word in English in this situation, because there aren't direct translations.
Yeah.
So I always thought that was interesting, that language learners who know that the person they're talking to knows the same languages as them, they can just mix them up, and then
Yeah,
communication.
no, I do that with I do that with my mom a lot, like just talking Italian and be like, and I'll just go just straight to English just because just like it's easier, or explain, like try and make the point across, is just getting to the fact that like in A to B of the sentence it's easier if I go back and forth.
Yeah.
That's it. And if you know both languages, it just makes your life a lot easier when you're talking to that one person that knows both languages at least. Um, but like, then like I feel like I want to just change it just because like it's actually like now it's on my mind, now I can't get it out. But it's like in language, like people learn it in America. Such if your family is not from a descendant from another country that with a different language, that's a non-English speaking nation, you won't learn it, or you won't learn it unless you have a tutor or in middle school, which you're like 12 or 13, and that just
You're not even thinking about
legitimate.
learning languages. Like you're
Yeah,
you're thinking about like, oh man, like, do I look okay? Do people like me? Like that's
yeah.
what you're thinking about in middle
You think about
school.
your self awareness, if anything,
Yeah.
or is Jenny down the block gonna like me?
Right. Yeah. Something like that.
But no, like I know in Italy, like it's elementary school. You pick a language that you want to learn. English that's from the UK, not American English, but it's still the
Right.
same.
Yeah.
French or whatever language you want to learn. But you learn at such a young age, like what elementary? Just say first grade. We were what 6, 5?
First grade.
Yeah,
6 years old. Yeah.
yeah.
I think.
6 compared to a 12 or 13-year-old kid learning a language. That's a big gap. Plus, when you're young, learning this language is just easy to mold and learn it and keep it and retain it for a longer time.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think that like you can't start learning languages until later, but actually, no matter what anybody says, the earlier the better for
Yeah,
all children, for anything, any subject.
because
You know?
their mind's still growing, and if
Yeah.
you get not even that connection, well, the connection between two languages that you could learn it, something beneficial.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And I was lucky too. Like
yeah.
I started being interested in Japanese when I was in like middle school.
Mhm.
And that wasn't even like super early, but I was like 12 or 13 at the time, right? I'm sure you remember.
Mhm.
And I started, watching a lot of anime and seeing like, oh, this phrase, has these subtitles X amount of times, and it's pretty common. And then one time I'll see it and it's translated differently. I'm like, that's not right,
Yeah.
because I've heard the phrase said so many times, and even though I don't know what the words are in the sentence, I know that what's being translated isn't correct simply because
But
of
that's
people.
just like repetition, that like
Yeah,
you have been seeing that phrase for X amount of times, that
yeah,
you go write something weird and you look at it, it's like, why does that like sentence or that word look so weird? I know I spelled it right, and then you look back and like, oh no, it is right. Why I'm just looking at it weird? You just, or vice versa, like, oh no, it's wrong. I messed up. Okay, you change it. Um, but no, that I totally understand that. Just like that's also just repetition. Language, you just have to do it every day, and that's why like when you're younger, you learn it, you see it, and you get better over the age. And I just feel like education here should put languages way earlier, like in elementary school, than rather than middle school.
yeah. I think so too, because we're entering, oh, not entering. We're already in like a super globalized economy, and
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of American people are just kind of like, well, not really gonna go anywhere unless it's for vacation. So like, I'm just gonna stay here and not really learn. And I think
Then,
it's important to learn because then you understand other people's perspectives and you can respect those perspectives and still disagree with them, right? Um, that's
but
why
now,
we have sovereign nations. But
exactly. But a lot of like college now, but like also like changing it, not changing, but the I have something to say about that because that I don't think that what you're saying is right about like oh only want vacation because now in college and even high school, a lot of people want to travel because they want to travel. They want to travel or study abroad because it's a one in a lifetime chance of they know they're going to do that. And I know like I didn't I went to study abroad. I know you have, but like I wish I had. Like I
Right.
would have went to like Korea, Brazil, and be like, okay, at least it's different. At least I went there for at least a semester, learn the
Yeah, yeah.
language, learn the culture. That'd be great. It's just sucky that I didn't. But like I felt like that I should have done. I should have been like so closed minded. Like oh I don't want to do that. I've spent so much money. I should have been like who cares? It's gonna be one of the best time of my life. And plus I
Right.
can learn X Y Z. Plus on top of that I can learn and understand a new language
Yeah, I mean,
because.
you can extract value from it and create relationships that you could not have otherwise created if you
Mhm.
didn't on it. So
But I feel like younger, like each each generation, when they go to college or high school, they want to travel more because they want to start seeing the world more or whatever
I think
because they
that's
have
a good thing.
time or whatever. But no, it's a great thing. It's just whatever their reason behind it.
Yeah. I mean, I only say that because I know people who are like, yeah, I'm never going to leave the U.S. Why would I ever want to do that? You know.
I will
All right.
understand like never gonna like leave because of work, but like never gonna leave because you don't want to travel. Just no. It's so close minded. Just open your mind just a little bit.
Yeah, I think humans are naturally adventurous, and we should be doing that. Should be
Mm-hmm.
traveling. All right. Well, I mean, I don't really have anything more for today's session. Do you have anything else you would like to say about language?
Well, yeah, like so when you just a quick question about like TV. When you're like obviously you're in Japan, you're watching TV. Is there like you put like you watch it in Japanese or you put it on English subtitles or you watch it like this is just something like just curiosity now at this
Right.
point?
Yeah. 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 No, actually, that's a good topic. Actually, I would like to cover. So in Japan, if you're watching TV, there are no English subtitles. There's only Japanese subtitles, and the Japanese subtitles are typically like always there, right? You can't like turn them off.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, well, because they watch TV with subtitles, but the subtitles themselves are in Japanese, right?
Gotcha.
So, I mean, I'm sure that's for people who are hard of hearing, or I don't know, like it's just a thing that happens culturally. That's how the TV is,
Okay.
and like a lot of times they have a lot of TV shows where they're covering like a news story or they're visiting a restaurant or some like famous person is traveling around Japan and exploring something. There's some theme, right? They're called like variety shows. And then there's a panel of people in a studio commenting on it and laughing about it or saying something about it, right? And then like every time they're filming, so say they're doing restaurant reviews in like an area, right? So a group of maybe like 2, 3 people go to review the restaurant, but then in the corner, you always have this little box showing like each of those people back at the studio, kind of laughing and like having reactions, stuff like that. Um, it's very it's very like community minded, right? It's like everybody's a part of the experience that they're going through. So they have that, and Japanese TV is also unique in the sense that um, famous people in Japan aren't famous for like one specific thing that they do, right? Like in the US, musicians are famous because they make music, right? In the US, actors are famous because they play, characters in films. But in Japanese culture, like you could be famous starting out for one thing, and then like say you are an actor and you get a role in something. Then you could start like producing music. Like some music producer would be like, all right, let's make an album for you, or like
Hmm.
as the soundtrack to the movie. Like let's put you on a song or whatever. You know, even though they're probably like shit at singing, or they could be good, whatever. But most of the time they're not. And then on the opposite side, like they have musical artists who end up starring in films when they're just terrible actors. It's just like they're just awful. But some of
Well,
them are good. So.
well, I know like a lot of actors or fighters, like let's just say like McGregor, right?
Uh-huh.
Fantastic MMA fighter, went to boxing just for one fight so he could make some big money, but then went
Yep.
back to MMA. But now he wants to make he's making whiskey called not Powers Proper 12. There we go, Proper 12, and I really enjoy it. It's a fantastic whiskey. It's Irish whiskey and it's really good. Really
It's an
smooth.
Irish
It's like
12-year whiskey.
yeah, no, it's like James saying like they have 12 years, but it's called proper 12. That's what
Okay.
it's called. And even like Ryan Reynolds. Like Ryan Reynolds has a gin company called Aviation.
Okay.
That people like all these people like now they have these money, they venture out to new stuff. And I feel
Right.
like now that's catching on later. Not much like it's with Japanese culture, but it's in America. It's in different stuff.
Right. Yeah, I know.
Um,
Like, I think it's Christina Aguilera or some female artist. She has like a bunch of like product lines of like handbags or shoes or like
oh,
perfumes or something like that. You know,
the
like fragrances.
Kardashians.
Yeah, them too. Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's just really what it is with that.
Yeah. So did I answer your question?
No, yeah, no, it's just I just like because like when my parents watch like Italian, there's no subtitles, it's just Italian. But like, since like the smart t like this, I could when we're watching like Netflix, more for like Netflix, like I
Right.
could put it on Italian, right?
Uh huh.
They'll
Yeah. Yeah.
speak Italian, and I could put the subtitles in English,
Right. Okay.
and then
So when
that
you watch Netflix with your family, you're watching in Italian, even
yeah,
if the original production itself isn't.
it's in English, yeah. If I'm watching it with my dad, mainly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but now like Netflix started having more Italian shows in it, so I just put that on if they want to watch Netflix,
Cool.
and that's it.
What
But
about
yeah,
Marco Polo?
I just like that or Medici. Medici is actually
Okay.
really good.
I need to see Marco Polo. I haven't seen it yet. I know you'll be mad at me, but like,
No, it's I thought it was a good show. I
yeah.
kind of was
I heard
upset
it
that
was good.
I was kind of upset when it did ended it, but
Mm.
whatever.
Not enough funding,
Need to. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it is.
So I guess language. That's a wrap. And
Huh?
if
Okay.
huh?
No, I'm just saying like hey, gotta wrap it up.
Yeah, yeah.
Nothing
Uh,
else.
yeah. I'll wrap it up. I mean, if there's anything else you guys would like us to talk about, language,
Yeah. In
how long
future
it took me to learn
episodes.
Japanese, what techniques I use to learn Japanese. Learning a language, generally there are techniques that go across any language. You don't need to, have a specific way of learning
But
for.
we're glad to talk about how we learn and not even just like learn, but like achieve our goals in these languages. Like for myself in Italian, him in Spanish and Japanese.
Mhm.
Just comment below, leave a comment, or email us at the A&E show at gmail.com, and we'll get back to you and just we'll give you our feedback.
Yeah, and
Um,
please, once we're up on iTunes or Spotify or wherever it is that you listen to your podcast, just give us a review. That's all we ask. Like,
mhm.
we're we're not even in the realm of asking for money or anything, but we would love it if we could get more people out there listening
Enjoy.
to the
Yeah.
podcast. Yeah, and just joining our conversation. And even if it's a bad review, right? Like, at least just tell us like, hey, I don't like this. Okay, well, how would you want us to move? Like, what direction would you want us to move in, or how would you want us to improve? Whatever.
It's like that meme. It's like, why you don't do this?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Just like that. So, thanks for listening. And this session was about language. And next session, we're going to talk about music. Yeah. And there's a little bit of overlap there, I guess, between language and music.
Hmm.
Uh, because, I listen to some Japanese music and.
Oh, you have that
Mm.
BTS boy band, the Korean boy band that's like taking flight in America now.
Yeah, BTS is taking over the world, man. But anyway, let's get into that in the next session. Thanks, everybody, for listening.
Thanks,
And
guys.
hope to see you again.
See you again. Bye.
Bye bye. We gotta come up with an outro.